To begin my presentation, I would like to introduce to you a few individuals that inspired me.
Oh, I'm streaming is so good now.
But Alex tells us before he got the arm.
Some people would say, what happened to your arm? How did that happen? All that bad stuff. I don't like it.
We'd see it in front of the class when I was 5 years old. And then I would talk about my arm. I would take it off and I would show it to them, and I thought it was so cool. I never thought there was an issue with my arm. And then I met kids and I met other adults, and I started to realize that everyone doesn't think this is as cool as I do. You know, I had kids that were afraid of me. I had a kid that cried when I took off my arm.
Trying to wrap my head and my heart around everything that happened. To this day, I still have nights where I'm crying and I'm frustrated with everything. You know, I grab my leg and it's not there anymore. And
Hello, my name is Nicholas McKinley, and I'm a recent high school graduate from Capstone Academy and the president of Paulding County's Senior 4-H Club. And today, we will be redefining superheroes and understanding how technology can affect a person's mental, physical, and social development. Today, I'll be talking about the human side of bionics, my personal journey through the subject, the statistical data, technology and its impact that it can have on an individual's lifestyle, and I will also introduce to you a few modern-day superheroes. Now, ever since I've been a young boy, I have had a huge interest in robotics, whether I was building things with Lincoln Logs or Legos, and I was always looking things up on the internet. Although, when I was 4 years old, my family and I would watch a show where a family had adopted a group of young children who were missing limbs. Because of this, doctors had given them simplistic prosthetic limbs. And it was after this that I stopped, turned to my mom, and I said that I would make prosthetic limbs for children just like these. Next, when I was 9 years old, my family and I went to Georgia Tech, the Center for Prosthetic and Orthotic Research, where I met Mr. Robert Kistenberg, who told me everything I would need to know about prosthetics. Although it was after hearing these few words from my current mentor that I would start to gain an interest into the human side of prosthetics.
But for me, the thing that I see inside is intrigues me. The human side is really what it's all about. You know, interact with a human and to read the body language of the person. And they have the best technology in the world. They have it in that person's head and the way. Coach and the mentor them. But if you went on that says it was dead impressed with their skill.
This man is Kevin Carroll, who is an Irish prosthetist who is the vice president of Hanger Prosthetics. You all may know Mr. Carroll through the movie Dolphin Tale, where he creates a prosthetic limb for a dolphin. It was after this interview that I started to look into the statistics of prosthetics, where globally there are 1 million annual limb amputations. In the United States, there are 2.1 million people living with limb loss. The estimated cost is $12 billion annually, and there was over 1,500 military personnel who suffered from limb loss due to the wars in Afghanistan. Although the main thing that we have to realize is that there are 2.1 million people living with limb loss, and that each of these numbers is an individual person, and that living with limb loss, and that this number is expected to double by 2050. And around 30% of people with limb loss experience some form of depression or anxiety. To put this number into perspective, this is bigger than the entire population of Atlanta. At the beginning of my presentation, we heard from Christy Ennis, and on the 1-year anniversary of her helicopter accident, she tried to end her own life. Although the main thing that we have to realize is that even though these individuals may look different from us, each of them is a mother, father, son, and daughter, and that each of them has their own story that makes them their own modern-day superhero. Now, even though their journeys may be hard, the Amputee Coalition is there to help each and every single one of them, where their mission is to help empower people affected by limb loss. Some of the ways to help them is by telling them that limb loss is not uncommon. Now, it is becoming less uncommon every single day. By telling them that no amputee is ever alone, and finally, helping them cope with the factor of limb loss. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, in 2018, there were 9,100 orthotists and prosthetists in the United States. and that this number is projected to grow by 20% from 2018 to 2028. And because of the work that these orthotists and prosthetists are doing, they're their own modern-day superheroes. Now, because of Mr. Carroll, I have had the opportunity to interview many different prosthetists, clinicians, and patients. An example of one being Mr. Billy Fletcher, who is a Master 4-H'er. I was also able to volunteer over 40 hours at a Hanger clinic, where I had the chance to shadow some of the many different clinicians who were working at the clinic. I was also able to meet and interview some of the many different patients, where during each interview, I learned a specific factor about wearing a prosthetic. Although the main thing that I learned was technology and its impact that it can have on an individual's life. Now you have to find the right prosthetic for each person. And it was after this that I thought back to Mr. Carroll's quote about how you have to get them to feel good about themselves. There are many different conditions that need to be met for a person to wear a prosthetic, although the first being the prosthetic has to fit the individual. One of the patients who had come into the clinic had received the most advanced microprocessor prosthetic legs, but because they were causing him discomfort and pain, he did not want to wear them. One of the ways Mr. Carroll has helped solve this problem is through his creation of Winter's Gel. Winter's Gel is applied to the residual limb before putting on the prosthetic, which can help reduce rashing and swelling. The next factor being function and reliability. Another patient had received the most advanced myoelectric prosthetic arm, but he also had a simple passive arm. And due to the fact of a simple battery malfunction, he preferred the passive arm, due to the fact that it had less of a chance of breaking or malfunctioning. For patients who suffer from lower body limb loss, it is crucial that their prosthetics be able to bend at the knee, although they have a much wider variation of prosthetic feet to choose from, ranging from the most advanced microprocessor legs and feet, which can help with movement and stability, to simple cosmetic feet. When all these conditions are met, it allows an amputee to walk with a natural and human-like stride. One of the patients who had received these microprocessor legs, and when all the conditions were met, even told us that he would be able to walk again. For patients who suffer from upper body limb loss, it is important that their prosthetics be able to bend at the elbow, but also be able to rotate at the wrist as well. The diagram here is an example of a myoelectric prosthetic arm, which usually feature electrodes in the prosthetic socket, which reads and recognizes patterns and signals for the residual limb. They also feature a control unit and a battery pack. I was able to interview Taylor Jones at Hanger Prosthetics, where he showed me how a myoelectric prosthetic arm works. The electrodes in the prosthetic socket reads and recognizes patterns and signals from the residual limb, and it is these signals that are controlling the prosthetic arm that you are seeing now. According to the U.S. Bureau of Orthotics and Prosthetics, it is a proven statistic that patients who receive a higher quality prosthetic will receive a higher quality of life. And it was after this that I thought back to the children I saw when I was 4 years old. Now they had received such simplistic prosthetics. I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Shane Wardeman, who's the Director of Clinical Research at Hanger Prosthetics, where he shared with me that children only constitute 5 to 10% of the entire prosthetic population. So where do parents go when they have children who suffer from limb loss? Well, ever since Albert Monero, the founder of Limitless Solutions, who was a previous grad student at the University of Central Florida, as well as Robert Downey Jr., presented Alex Pring with his very own Iron Man prosthetic arm, I have been following Limitless Solutions. Limitless Solutions is a non-profit organization which focuses on creating customizable 3D printed prosthetic limbs for children. Because their prosthetic limbs are 3D printed, this makes them much more cost efficient, where their price can range anywhere from $600 and can be resized for as little as $70, although no child is tasked with paying the price for their prosthetic limbs. And because of the work that they do at Limitless Solutions, they are their own modern-day superheroes. I was able to interview both co-founders, where during this interview, we were able to talk about some of the specific issues that they face with their prosthetics. Limitless Solutions does not only provide prosthetic limbs for children, but it also provides them with life-changing experiences for the children who get these prosthetic limbs, which not only teaches them how to use their new limbs, but also how to grow more accustomed towards them. And because of this, each child up here is their own modern-day superhero. Now let us revisit the few individuals we heard from at the beginning of my presentation and see how they have become their own modern-day superhero. Alex Spring was the first of Limitless Solutions Bionics kids, and after receiving his prosthetic arm from Albert Monero at Superhero Day at his school, he now has enough confidence to dress up as himself. Angel Guifuera was the youngest baby in the world to ever receive a myoelectric prosthetic arm. She has completed a master's degree and has even become an advocate for people with limb loss. She has also become a successful actress, even being featured in the movie The Hunger Games. And finally, Christy Ennis, who is a retired Marine Corps sergeant, who has successfully created her own foundation, which has raised and donated over $1 million to veterans. And in 2019, she was even awarded the ESPY Awards for her service. I hope these few individuals have inspired you today, and thank you for watching my presentation.